Have you ever had the pleasure of drizzling a generous helping of avocado oil on your hummus? But have you ever wondered what it takes to turn this buttery fruit into liquid gold? Today, at Whole Process, we're going to uncover this mystery, from the groves in Mexico to the cold press machines in factories. If you like these videos, make sure to like and subscribe so we can continue making them. Until then, what is avocado oil and what makes it so healthy? Avocados originated in central Mexico around 5,000 years ago and have been cultivated there since then. It's not some health fad that has grown recently. In fact, avocados have been treasured by the local indigenous people for centuries. Here, avocados were used in food, skincare, and more because of its reputation as being oil-rich in nature. But the best part is that it's not just simply trendy, it's actually one of the most nutrient-rich oils in the world. However, the actual industrial oil extraction began quite late, approximately in the 20th century, when the modern mechanical presses were developed and stole the spotlight. However, there's a little twist here. Did you know that avocado oil is one of the few oils that's extracted directly from the pulp of the fruit, rather than the seed? But things are never that straightforward, and the way that avocado oil was extracted back in the day versus now has had a massive shift. The world's current large-scale producers of avocado oil are Mexico, Kenya, New Zealand, and Peru, etc. These regions are prized since there are very specific conditions that allow an avocado tree to thrive, namely, having well-drained soil. Having soil that's too wet or too dry can kill the trees, of which is why a mild climate and temperature between 15 to 30 degrees is preferred on average. Harvesting is another important factor, where a mismatch in dates can lead to a fruit that's either too ripe or not ripe enough. So the main season lies between spring and late summer. Avocados tend to have a larger oil content as they age. Early on in their season, they may have an approximate amount of 10 to 12% of oil, but at full maturity, they can have 20 to 25% of oil, which is a major jump. This leads to the timing being crucial. If picked too early, the yield is low and the oil can start tasting grassy. On the other hand, if picked too late, the overripe fruit can rot and ruin the final yield. When it comes to supermarket avocados, the physical appearance of the fruit also matters. However, that's not fully true for the story of the avocados that we will be seeing turn into our favorite oil. No, oil-grade avocados aren't necessarily perfect like their supermarket halves. In fact, they are usually unsuitable to be sold on their own, not because of taste, but because they aren't aesthetically pleasing enough to the eye. They're either too ripe, too bleached, or even too misshapen in shapes, which is why they get shipped off to become oil. Because when it comes to oil making, these qualities have little to no effect on the final yield, especially since the internal pulp is still perfectly good. At the time of harvesting avocados, it's important to be careful since they bruise awfully easily. So to avoid this, there are two methods that are used to pick avocados, by hand or by pole harvesting. The goal is always to get ripe fruit without damaging the skin, so pole harvesters with padded catchers do just that. In smaller orchards, hand picking is also an option. It takes down the bruising issue by a large number since they can be delicately handled by workers. Why is this bruising considered so bad? The answer lies in the enzymatic reactions that occur when avocados get bruised. Once that happens, the pulp on the bruised side turns brown and carries a bitter aftertaste into the final avocado oil product, which is why it's avoided as much as possible. After the avocados have been successfully collected, they get shipped off to facilities in crates and are then loaded onto conveyor belts. Their first stop from here are washing tunnels, which are essentially just pressure water sprays that are used to remove dirt, leaves, and pesticide residues. From here, the clean avocados are sent to inspection tables, where after meticulously looking through, the workers, or in some factories, optical sorters, remove moldy, damaged, or unripe avocados from the batch. The fruits get graded by size and ripeness. If you're wondering why this is done, it's to ensure that there are uniform batches to ensure an even oil extraction. Newer factories also have alternate methods that come into play here. places that are called enzymatic softening rooms. These rooms have controlled temperatures and humidity that are used to ripen the unripe fruit ahead of time before processing. This helps ensure that no fruit goes to waste and that time is used efficiently. While you may think this is a bit too much, there's always a good reason why these things are prioritized. For oil flavor and quality drop drastically when the fruit begins fermenting. From here, the shortlisted avocados enter destining machines, which are used to slice the fruit open and remove the large center stones that are present in all. After the avocado flesh and the peel are separated, only the pulp is used for the oil extraction. The pulp is sent to hammer mills or cutters to mash into a smooth, uniform paste. Imagine it being the texture of freshly made guacamole. The meaning of cold press oils basically means that heat is avoided at this stage, especially to preserve the original nutrients and flavor of the oil. Yet, this wasn't even the most important part of the process. In fact, that starts now. Oil separation. The smooth paste that was created in the last step is now slowly churned in malaxers. If you're wondering what those are, they are large stainless steel mixing tanks, especially designed for oil separation. The slow and gentle mixing lets little tiny oil droplets inside the pulp to form and emerge from the paste. This is called coalescence. At this point, the temperature is carefully controlled and kept at a steady rate to avoid cooking the oil, usually elbow 40 degrees Celsius for extra virgin avocado oil. The full malaxing process can take around 30 to 60 minutes depending on the ripeness and variety of the fruit. So why is this part so important? Well, because it determines the largest selling factors of the final oil, like flavor, color, and clarity of the oil. It's really simple actually. In premium facilities, everything that's done is carried out in a way that gets the best final product. Everything from speed to material is adjusted to keep oxidation away. After the oil has been separated from the paste, the still combined mixture gets pumped into a centrifuge, which is a type of horizontal or vertical separator, depending on type. The high speeds of the centrifugal force separates the mixture into 3 layers: oil, vegetable water, and solid pulp residue. Those centrifugal systems are more modern in the current world, and older facilities still use the traditional methods of hydraulic presses. In this, the paste gets a large amount of pressure exerted on it to release the oil. The oil is immediately collected in large steel tanks and then set aside while the vegetable water is discarded. The pulp residue, however, is kept, but not for the reason you assume. It's mainly used in animal feed or, in rarer cases, even cosmetics. But there are tiers to the quality of oils, even though there's no universally agreed upon standard for extra virgin avocado oils. Producers tend to agree on some basic standards. Once the pulp has been pressed and filtered, unrefined oil begins its second journey, becoming either the previously mentioned extra virgin oil or refined oil. Extra virgin oil is obtained through a long-winded mechanical extraction, without any heat of chemical treatment. In the end, it retains its emerald green hue, buttery, unique aroma, and most of the fruit's natural antioxidants. On the other hand, refined avocado oil takes a longer trip, with several stages. All these exist to purify it, removing the free fatty acids, pigments, and even odors. This results in a pure, fresh, and neutral-tasting oil, having a lighter color and a higher smoke point, which is why it's used the most in commercial kitchens. Turns out, burned oil isn't the greatest. The first step in this journey is called degumming. Natural oils can contain impurities like phospholipids and tiny proteins, which are mainly called gums. To remove these, the oil is gently mixed with a small amount of water. This hydrates the gums and causes them to separate from the oil, where it gets centrifuged to be completely rid of. In some instances, even food-grade acids like phosphoric or citric acid are used in place of the water in small concentrations, like 0.05% and 0.4% of the oil's weight. Now comes the neutralization bit. Here, the main goal is to reduce those free fatty acids that were left behind. But why? It's because they can contribute to the rancidity and off flavors in the final product. Here, chemical and physical refining step into the picture. In both, the use of chemicals takes center stage and are used to remove the fatty acids. As one of the last stages, bleaching comes into play. This is done to remove any pigments in the oil and trace metals. At this stage, the oil is heated to around 80 to 120 degrees Celsius, mixed with activated clay or carbon. Then it gets held under a vacuum for 20 to 40 minutes. This belacing process absorbs the carotenoids and chlorophyll, etc., leaving the oil clear, clean, and stable. The final step to get the lovely refined avocado oil is deodorization. Here, high vacuum steam is passed through the oil at a temperature like 180 to 240 degrees. This is done to evaporate the unwanted compound in the oil without burning the oil itself. Though, there's a negative aspect to it as well. This level of high heat can degrade the sensitive nutrients in the oil. These are what make avocado oil so healthy, and their loss would defeat the purpose of all this hassle, which is why processors use an extremely careful balance of time and temperature to preserve as much of them as possible. All this leads to the removal of any remaining odors or volatiles left that could have altered the flavor, leaving behind an oil that's ideal for cooking. After all this, the oil goes through one last filtration pass to remove any fine particles that may have escaped though earlier. Once done, the samples are tested in the labs for key indicators of quality. And once the testers are satisfied with the taste and overall yield, they get sent over to get bottled. Though it's not that simple, it gets bottled in green bottles. But have you ever wondered why this happens and why green? Since avocado oil is light and oxygen sensitive, it gets filled in dark glass bottles, much like olive oil. In fact, to make sure the oil is completely protected inside, manufacturers even flush the oil with nitrogen gas before sealing. This is to avoid any reactions with oxygen. After all this, the bottles are capped, batch-coded, and labeled as the type they are: compressed, refined, or even extra virgin oil. To think that the humble avocado harvested from the tree would turn into this golden and delicious oil. It's incredible how much science goes into what we drizzle so casually on our food. Have you ever used avocado oil? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and as always, we hope to see you in the next one.